following day, we visited the ruins of Palmyra. Palmyra was the crowning jewel of ancient Syrian history. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and tourists from all over the world would flock to visit. That, unfortunately, is no longer the case. The ruins of Palmyra were twice captured by ISIS, and we proceeded to destroy and vandalize these magnificent ruins. Not only was this a crime against Syria, but a crime against all of humanity. On our day trip to Palmyra, we had the privilege of being accompanied by General Samir Ibrahim, who fought gallantly against ISIS. Well, this is the theater here at Palmyra, and it is unreal. Not that long ago, this whole complex was under the control of ISIS, and the destruction you see here is a product of their occupation here, and I'm glad they're gone. And our tour group was actually joined by Syrian TV, and we're interviewing my tour operators right now, so it's pretty cool that they came out. I can only imagine what this place was like before the destruction of when ISIS came.
In military science and history and philosophy, and always accompanied by the famous Greek philosopher Gaius. So she rules by her beauty and strong personality. Was read, which means you have to be highly educated. Not only in religious studies, in different sciences. Now you will see a lot of destruction. Actually, myself, I'm speechless.
Again, I was awestruck at these ancient ruins, and I can only imagine what they looked like before ISIS unleashed their reign of terror. One of the sad stories that I learned about Palmyra was the death of Khaled al-Assad. He was one of the directors of the museum here, and when ISIS overran the museum, he hid many artifacts from ISIS for safekeeping. When he refused to give up the location of the artifacts, he was brutally tortured and beheaded for not cooperating. He gave his life for Palmyra. You should all remember his name. Palmyra has only recently reopened for tourism, so a camera crew from a Syrian TV channel was there to film us. Here I am being interviewed by them. It's my first time to Syria, and I found it to be an amazing country, wonderful people, so much history.
أنا كثير سعيد إني حسنت زور الجمهورية العربية السورية. أنا حزين جدا للتدمير الممنهج اللي حصل بمدينة تدمر. قام بتدمير التنظيمات الإرهابية بقيادة داعش. هذا التراث هو تراث عالمي للإنسانية.
I also took advantage of this amazing backdrop to interview Zabi and Nina from Traveling the Unknown. If it wasn't for them, I never would have discovered Syria. That I used to book my trip to Syria. And I guess the first question is, how long have you been doing this?
Well, actually, this is our first tour in Syria.
Wow.
As a company. Previously, Traveling the Unknown has been the name of my YouTube channel, and I've done. I think I started it about 2 years ago, but it's only really been active in the last year. So I've got 3 vlogs on Syria. I've got vlogs from Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, and more places. So yeah, basically I've kind of been doing this thing for about a year now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was part of your first trip to Syria.
You're most welcome.
You're most welcome, mate. Absolutely.
Okay. And are there any countries that you want to reach out to start? that you haven't been to yet?
We're planning about to do trips, for example, to Yemen in the future.
Wow. Maybe wait till it dies down a little, the action.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in Yemen, like a Socotra, or
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Potentially Iraq as well, but unfortunately, like with the current situation there, it's
Politics can get ugly.
Exactly. So we might have to delay that a bit.
Now, one thing that is going to blow everybody away is that how different Syria is portrayed in the Western media as to what the reality is. I mean, I'm going to testify for myself. I've been treated totally great. Not one bad experience here so far. I mean, the food, the culture, everything's been just unbelievable, and it's unfortunate that that part of Syria does not get broadcast to the world, whereas only the negative stuff does.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate what you're doing.
Sure.
Because you're presenting. I mean, you look around, you see this. I mean, even though it's not what it was before, you see something like this, it takes your breath away.
Absolutely.
And especially all the other things we've seen on this tour.
Sure. It's a country filled with so much rich history, different sects. It's so diverse in terms of people, in terms of natural scenery,
right?
In terms of cultures, even in terms of languages. There's so much in this rich country, and unfortunately, despite the tragedies, this country still has a lot to offer, and it's become a personal goal of mine to show the world the other side of Syria. And despite saying that, I don't want to neglect the tragedies that have happened here.
Of course.
Like on our trips, you will see destruction. I
have. It's.
We're not trying to hide that at all.
Right. I don't believe in sugarcoating anything either. So.
Exactly. So we're not. We don't attempt to do that, but at the same time, it's become a goal of mine to show the world that Syria is more than that. It's so much more than that.
And tell me a little about your backgrounds. Are you a student?
Yeah, exactly. So I was born in the UK to a Polish mom and a British dad, but he's got South African roots. But since the age of 8, I've lived in foreign countries. I spent 6 years in Oman, where I went to a local Omani school.
Amazing.
I studied Arabic there. After I graduated from secondary school, I went back to the UK. I did a TEFL diploma, CELTA diploma actually, to be more specific, which basically allows me, gives me a qualification to teach English to adults as a second language. I then went to Lebanon in hope of finding work, and I did. I did private English lessons in Lebanon. But whilst there, I also studied the Lebanese dialect of Arabic, and whilst there, I also made my first trip to Syria. Being so close, it was a country that I've been interested in for a while. I couldn't really resist the opportunity of visiting, so I did, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made.
Excellent.
In the last few years, for sure.
And Nina, your English is fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Did you learn it in high school or?
No.
Just on your own?
We have English in high school and also in school, but I've learned it myself.
No, I give you a lot of credit.
Thank you so much.
I met this gorgeous girl.
Thank you.
Yeah, as well.
Well, hey, so everything's working out so far.
Yeah.
And Nina, I gotta say, your diligence in getting us the visas, I really gotta give you credit for that.
Yeah,
The following day, we returned to Damascus and stopped by the town of Saidnaya on the way. It's a predominantly Christian town with an amazing monastery. Again, we were made to feel welcome, and I felt like a time traveler visiting such old places of worship. Oh, please go. And here we are walking through the monastery. This artwork is amazing. It's from the top of the monastery. The view is quite good here. One of our tour guides was Ahmad Albazam from Golden Team. Here we are discussing how different the media's portrayal of Syria is compared to what I've seen so far. Amazing how different what I experienced here as to what Western media tells me.
Really, myself, I'm not surprised because always media controlled by the policies. Syria considers belong to the Western media in a red zone. One of the dangerous city in the world. You should not go to that city.
Yes, or country.
Yes, the whole country itself. So now you did it.
Yes.
You visited Syria for I think 6 days.
Yeah, about 6 days. Yeah.
You can tell the people about your experience.
I will.
I think so. You can talk about Syria how you see it by your eyes, not what I told you about it.
No, of course.
And you are welcome.
No, definitely. I would definitely like to come back one day and learn more. I mean, there's a lot of Syria we did not see yet, for obvious reasons, but hopefully, as things calm down.
As I told you, we've been talking about Palmyra, the biggest archaeological site. If we take about Aleppo, we talk about the castle of Aleppo, citadel of Aleppo, one of the biggest citadel in the world. No one occupied it via history by force, even during this modern war.
Yeah.
And the diameter of the old souks and market of Aleppo, it's 12 square kilometer. If we talk about, which is the best example for Islamic military architecture, and if we talk about Bosra, which is the best example for the theater or amphitheater, which was built during Roman era.
Right.
Still in original and a good shape till nowadays. If we talk about Syria, sure we talk about Ebla, the birthplace of first parliament in the world, the first school for teaching foreign languages, the first international fairs. If we talk about Ugarit, the birthplace of first alphabet in the world, 14th century BC, the first musical note in the world. Maybe if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that on the tour.
That way of dancing, we called it debke.
Yeah.
It's ancient way for dancing. It used to be religious rituals at 14th century BC. So a lot of archaeological sites, a lot of heritage. You need more time to discover most of them.
I know, definitely. Well, we never know. I might be back one day.
Inshallah, you are most welcome anytime.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you. The following day, we visited Bosra al-Sham. It's another UNESCO World Heritage Site. I was getting blown away by the amazing ruins here. Something this amazing should have tourists lined up, but again, due to the bad publicity, there are only a few others here. Here we are again, amphitheater of Bosra. This is truly incredible.
Why are these guys fuck off? How do you say fuck off in Arabic?
It's a good question. This is truly incredible. Still walking around the ruins of Bosra. It is something to see here. My only complaint that is it's freezing outside. It is freezing, and I did not dress appropriately. As you can see, everyone here is bundled up, but I'm wearing my leather jacket.
another cathedral of Bosra, which is the second largest church.
And here we are up close, front stage and center. Do you have an idea of the size of this place?
I think you had to take her to the. Did you have to go to the bathroom again? I think she had to go pee again.
Hello. Greetings from Syria.
Welcome to Syria.
I took advantage of some downtime to interview another one of our tour guides, Abir. She also works for a Golden Team tour company, and here I am asking her how the Civil War affected her.
My name is Abir Al-Khalil. I'm from Al-Julan. I have been speaking English language since about 4 years or maybe more. And I studied English literature at Damascus University.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And we have light.
Yeah.
To everyone watching, the lights
Finally.
went out for a second, and now they're just coming back on.
Yeah, that's very normal here in Syria
Right.
because the electricity go on with. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And one thing that about Syria is the people here are so welcoming.
Yeah,
Very welcoming.
This is something. This is something actually very normal to see here. People have a kind heart. We are. This is. We raised from our children to be very welcoming people. To welcome anybody who wants to visit Syria or wants to see it. So this is very natural to see here.
Yeah. And what was your experience during the war? It must have been pretty crazy here.
About you mean about the crisis?
Yeah.
You have to know something that even though the crisis that Syria had been went through, it is always succeeded in surviving and standing. The people are back to its normal life, the normal life coming back, and we have you right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, in our country, and everything is going to its nature, to its normal situation. This crisis will not weaken us. We are strong all the time.
That's great.
People have to know that.
Yeah, and I gotta say that.
Anyone wants to visit us, he is very welcome anytime he wants.
Now, you know, I'm American, you're Syrian, but we've been getting along very great. We're, you know,
Yeah.
and we need more of this when two countries meet.
Yeah.
I wish more politicians would do what we're doing here and, you know, making friends and getting to know the people. It's a real shame.
Yeah.
Later on that evening, we hit up a karaoke bar where we all had a great time. Again, this is the Syria that you will not see on mainstream media back home.
Light of hand and twist of fate on a bed of nails, she makes me wait. And I wait without you. Go ahead, Fred. With or without you. Through the storm we reach the shore. You give it all, but I want more. And I'm waiting for you. With or without you. With or without you, I can't live.
On our last day in Syria, it was time to leave, and I took advantage of our long drive back to Beirut, Lebanon, to get one of Noah's stories on film. All right, during my travels through Syria, I met a fellow American from Texas. His name's Noah.
and he's doing something very unusual. He's traveling the world and trying to hit up every country. So tell me a little, you're a former you still are a chemical engineer?
Yeah, I was a chemical engineer for 10 years, worked, got tired of the desk life, got bored, and I wanted to travel, so I quit my job. I saved my money for many years, quit my job, and I decided to travel the world and try to go to every country in the world.
Amazing.
And yeah, I've had some crazy experiences, a lot of near-death experiences, and it's been one hell of a journey, one wild ride.
Yeah, I remember you entertaining us with some of your stories. I think the favorite one you told us was your adventures in Cameroon.
Yeah, that was probably the closest I've ever come to dying, for sure. Yeah, so we had this brilliant idea to try to do sort of a 24-hour summit where we left at around 3 p.m. We were going to make it to the summit camp and then summit the next morning. What we didn't anticipate was the mother of all storms. And around 7 p.m. the sun went down. It was pitch black, and you know, I had warm clothes in my backpack, but the storm hit so quickly, and the rain came down with such force and such torrential heavy downpour that literally within seconds my entire backpack was full of water. So my warm clothes were now soaking wet, and taking them out and putting them on would have been a waste of time at this point. So we decided to just go as quickly as we could up the mountain, and we were on the steepest section of Mount Cameroon at this point. And I've never seen rain this hard before, and the winds were hurricane force, like 100 kilometers per hour winds, and it was so intense and the rain was very close to its freezing point. Like, I want to say the rain was probably just slightly above freezing, because it actually started sleeting and then hailing.
You wouldn't expect that in Africa.
No, you wouldn't. And the weather forecast was supposed to be very good, which is why we kind of didn't prepare very well. But I was in a tank top and shorts, and then there was so much lightning. We were above the tree line that it's a miracle that I wasn't struck by lightning. And I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds of lightning bolts, like within inches of hitting my face. And I was crawling on all fours to not get hit by lightning, and I was also, because I could barely stand up because of the wind, it was so strong. And over time, it took us like an hour to get to the camp, and maybe 45 minutes into it, my entire body was numb and I couldn't feel it, and I was blacking out. I don't remember the last 15 minutes of it, but I was apparently very hypothermic. All four of my arms and legs were numb. I couldn't feel my face. I couldn't feel my body, and I was crawling on all fours because my legs were numb. And I don't remember the last 15 minutes of it, but they said that I made it into the camp by myself. But yeah, I don't remember. Like when I got to camp, I ripped off all my clothes naked, ran around and started screaming about getting me a damn banana. And then I passed out face first, unconscious for maybe 30 minutes. And they wrapped me up in warm blankets and stuff. And so essentially I was dying from hypothermia. But yeah, that's probably the closest that I've ever come to dying.
That's unreal.
Crazy. It was crazy.
You just wouldn't expect that in Africa, that you would catch hypothermia like that.
I just remember my life flashing before my eyes before I blacked out, and essentially just everything you got, all your energy, all your fight to not die, you know, you just keep going, keep pushing. And it just goes to show you how Mother Nature can take you out in the blink of an eye.
Sure, no, Mother Nature's a bitch.
You have to always never underestimate a mountain and never underestimate the weather when you're hiking and climbing. I learned a valuable lesson there, and now I've went on to summit a lot more difficult mountains than that, because that's really an easy mountain to climb.
So what is my conclusion on Syria? I will be the first to admit that Bashar al-Assad is an autocrat and an authoritarian, and he will resort to any means necessary to remain in power. Political opponents are imprisoned, and he has definitely built up a cult of personality. But after seeing the quagmires and disasters that have befallen countries such as Iraq and Libya, when their rulers were removed, he's by far the better option. I believe that any type of progress or change in government will need to come strictly from the Syrian people themselves, not from the West and not from Russia. As for myself, I was treated with nothing but kindness. I never once hid the fact that I was American, and I was always greeted with the word, marhaba, which means welcome. With the civil war being practically over, the country of Syria is now in a rebuilding mode. But this will take time. And the crippling sanctions being imposed by the West isn't helping at all. Maybe our political leaders should rethink their tactics on this. My message to the Syrian people is to stay strong and united. You are your country's best resource. This video is dedicated to all of you. By the way, Traveling the Unknown is organizing another tour of Syria in April 2020. I suggest anyone who is interested in traveling to Syria to contact them. As far as the rest of the tour group goes, we're all still in touch by social media and by WhatsApp. I hope to see everyone again one day. So what will be my next destination? I went over my recordings. I'll be putting out a bonus video of my very brief time in Beirut. It won't be a full episode, but enough just to get an overview. I want to thank the following people in business for all their assistance. Without them, this video wouldn't have been possible. See you on the next episode. I'd love to hear from everyone where you want me to go next, so comment below. And please don't forget to like and subscribe.